Ladies, we convened here today to discuss what I think is the greatest social crisis facing our nation, and we are going to do it now for the first time ever, a Chapo symposium on the issue, is there a Joker crisis in America? I will be doing the role of McLaughlin on the McLaughlin group to introduce this, all-star cast here. Let's be honest, we're playing with a full deck. Jokers are wild, and as such, we've got all aces bringing you this conversation here today. Beginning with, introduce
Felix
yourself.
Biederman. I consider myself the Pat Buchanan of this roundtable, asking why the Joker has gone to Israel so many times, and why those scars are scars from circumcision. I couldn't do the joke visually, Matt. It was a joke before everyone got here, before the McLaughlin group formed.
Good joke.
It was pretty good.
I was just disappointed because I didn't get to set it up by calling him the Joker.
Yeah.
Very funny.
No, I think I have a different opinion on this movie than most of the people here, but I think we can all agree on one thing. The music choice, especially for a key scene in the movie, perfect. Absolutely perfect.
You're referring to Gary Glitter's number?
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to
Let's
that.
not get ahead of ourselves.
Next on the panel.
Hey, I'm Jen Pan. My qualifications for talking about this movie are that I've seen it, which apparently is more than most people who are writing about it, including some articles I saw today in Vogue and The Cut that were titled things like Why I Won't Be Seeing Joker.
It's important to take a stand. You need to have your voice heard.
This is true.
Amber Lee Frost, dedicated soldier in the glorious cause of the workers' movement, and PhD in Joker studies.
Matt Chrisman here. I am reviewing this film, A Changed Man, because of all of the ways I thought I could possibly respond to this movie. I do not think in a million years I could have predicted the way that I actually did. And we'll talk more about it later.
Will Menaker, host, McLaughlin, Chapo Trap House.
Adam can introduce both of us.
We got Nick from Cumtown Podcast, Adam from Cumtown Podcast, and I'm glad you guys invited us on to talk about our buddy Shane from the Matt and Shane Podcast, who's recently fired from SNL.
Can you imagine if they tried to put him in that movie? Yeah, no, I'm just like pissed off all the fucking time because the fucking Chinese people won't let me say shit that I want to say.
So he obviously he got a raw deal, and so thanks. I mean, we're gonna share some thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get into it, but leading off the symposium, we do have special guest calling in from Australia, international film critic Matt V. Brady. Will kick things off with his first thoughts on Joker.
Matthew Brady, audio log. I'm recording this in the hopes that there's still someone out there to listen to it. I think it's important that at least one person stands witness to these end days. I suppose I should start at the beginning. I can only speak to what happened here in Australia. We lost contact with the rest of the world pretty quickly. On the 4th of October, at 10:23 a.m., the Australian Prime Minister ordered every fighter jet the Australian Air Force has into the air. That's right, all 8 of them. Their target was simple: every cinemaplex and movie theatre in the country. The reason? The Joker movie. Unfortunately, the bombs came too late. A few bold souls had tried to warn us beforehand. They told us this movie was dangerous, but we just didn't listen. And even that was an understatement. Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, is like the Black Death and the Spanish flu combined. This movie has dropped more bodies than Hillary Clinton. Watching it is like staring at the opened Ark of the Covenant. Movie theatres just became charnel houses. And the few that managed to survive, you could hardly call them lucky. You see, the movie, it infected them somehow. It was like a virus or something. They'd walk out of the theatre, immediately get online and create a gimmick account like Joker Rates Dogs or @GotNickJoker and just unleash havoc. It's still hard to believe how fast it all happened. How fast the world ended. I suppose I should attempt to describe the movie itself. Future generations, if there are any, deserve to know what happened in the before time. You see, I did see the movie. I had to. I managed to find one of the few theatres that didn't get hit. I didn't even need to buy a ticket. There was no one at the register or the concession stand. There was no ushers. I don't even know if there was anyone in the projectionist booth. But that movie, it was playing, so I sat down to watch it. Or I tried to, at least. It was kind of hard to pay attention to the movie itself. I mean, I was constantly having to check the exits or scan the rest of the audience for potential threats. I got up and went to the bathroom 7 times and searched it just to make sure no one had hidden a weapon in there, Michael Corleone style. And when I wasn't doing that, I couldn't even sit down. I had to spend the entire movie in a combat crouch with my weight evenly distributed between both feet so that I was ready to launch myself in any direction at the first sign of danger. One thing I did notice, though, for a movie called The Joker, it wasn't actually very funny. It was pretty light on actual jokes. I feel like the Joker himself could have maybe done a few more bits, you know, like say he had a can of Coke Zero, for instance, and he took a little sip and he went, this Coke Zero tastes a little funny. Yeah, I guess there's a 1 in it.
Mad Matt.
It really
Mad
is.
Matt now wandering the loam of the outback.
A harrowing report from
Wow.
Australia
I
on
couldn't understand anything he was saying.
on how the Joker madness is spreading. But we've all now exposed ourselves to it, and I want to begin this roundtable discussion with Felix. Your article in Deadspin, I think, is a great jumping off point. Could you talk a little bit about the history of the Joker in American culture, how this Joker fits into our current moment, and some of what you make of the reaction to the movie itself? From there, you wrote a great review. Nothing in it is wrong, but I think we're going to
Typical of anything that I write.
widen the aperture of this discussion because we have some very enthusiastic takes on this movie.
Well, so the Joker, the Joker is a lens you can see certain periods of American history through, like the Cesar Romero Joker, who I mistakenly referred to as the Oscar Romero Joker in the initial draft of the article that somehow went to publication initially.
That's actually, it was a good comparison because the U.S. military and those death juntas were basically the Batman of the 80s.
Yeah, no, United Fruit Company, Wayne Industries, but he represented a whimsical time where we tried to kill Castro with poison dental dams and things like that. Of course, Castro he was part of the anti-condom movement, so he was safe forever. But in the 90s, you had like an Adbusters style Joker in Jack Nicholson who had no real nothing really beyond taking an art gallery and making it crazy. And then when we became very self-serious and gritty. After 9/11, because we had lost a war, we had Heath Ledger. And now we have the perfect Joker because it creates for this time, because there's a bunch of sound and fury and reaction and counter-reaction about this thing that this movie isn't actually about. And journalists alternating between telling themselves the same 30 jokes that they've told since late 2016 against an army of people who are not radicalized, but just pay attention to guys on YouTube named the snarky logician arguing with each other forever about this thing that's just it would have just been a slightly above average movie in 2006.
Jen Pan, your thoughts?
So I'm sure we'll talk about all the political stuff, and I do want to dive into that, but I think I really like the movie just on the basis of it being kind of like a movie about psychological disintegration, which is the sort of best movie genre that there is. And I mean, I think that, one particular part in the movie where that comes through is kind of when there's that sort of reveal near the end where it turns out that he's kind of hallucinated this relationship with his neighbor who lives down the hall. And that was sort of the, point that people, I think, got a little upset or uncomfortable about. They were like, this is the kind of like incel part or whatever. But I really didn't think it was like a condemnation of her. He didn't seem to be particularly angry at her. She seemed like a good mom and a good neighbor. But there was that kind of reveal where it was like, oh, he is completely batshit. And I thought that was pretty cool, even if that kind of moment was a little bit Fight Clubby or, a bit, a bit tired at this point. And there's promises that we'll talk about Gary Glitter, so I'll hold off on that. But that's like
Not guilty.
yeah.
We need a Tariq Nasheed thread on Gary Glitter.
Amber.
Okay, so I actually went into this like knowing that it was going to be like a series of homages, and I had like a major like criticism. It would be that it was like a little too packed with homages, but I thought that actually in many ways it was the inverse of like a Death Wish or a Taxi Driver, because those are movies that are high art and highly reactionary, and this is a movie that's not really high art, but it has perfect politics. It is a class war movie, but the kind of like liberal punditry class wouldn't know class war if it bit them in the ass. Like they would watch the execution of the Romanovs and be like, racism much? Like, it's actually insane. And I think the most interesting thing about the movie is that, like, it has proven that, like, the Trump administration has turned every, like, liberal into, like, a 1970s Wisconsin housewife, just like listening to her son's heavy metal records backwards, looking for secret satanic messages. It's completely insane. I think it's amazing watching this about the Central Park 5 minutes about incels. And when it's just so clearly about class war, if anything, this movie has exposed the psychosis of the kind of like, cultural media liberal.
And it's not even like subtly about that. There are points in the movie.
That's the biggest complaint, is that it's like too on the nose about class war.
There are points in the movie where you just see like newspaper headlines that just say "kill the rich." We'll get to that, but next up, Matt Christman.
All right. I went into this movie expecting myself to have basically Felix's opinion of all this ridiculous mess and cultural mishigash over this. What a perfectly emblematic moment. We have this garbage and just this stupid, sterile argumentation about garbage. That's so perfect. And that's what I was expecting to think. And I was, of course, also resentful of just the idea that now every film has to just be a superhero movie for it to get funding. So you just make good movies and turn them into superhero garbage. But I sat down to watch it, and I now believe that it is, I think, honestly, almost accidentally and not really through an effort of any of the filmmakers, just lightning in a bottle, a work of surpassing brilliance and a masterpiece. I think it is genius. I think it is brilliant.
Michael Moore agrees with you.
I think that there are two levels of analysis here that are incredibly sharp and illuminating, and made me feel like I had taken an intellectual fucking enema. They just made so many things that felt kind of right outside the tip of my tongue to make sense. Like it just by exemplifying two phenomenon. One is it distillates the last 20 years of cultural conversation about what the Joker means as a cultural character, right? Because the Joker's been around forever, but only since Dark Knight, the Joker's become a focal point in culture. He's a shibboleth for white male alienation, right? The twisted idea, the idea, why should I apologize for the monster I've become? Nobody apologized for making me one, right? That's what the Joker represents. And this movie is about what that means. It has to be a movie about the Joker. It has to be a Joker origin story because it's the origin of the Joker, not as a character in the Marvel DC universe, but as a cultural phenomenon, what the Joker comes from. And then on the level of the text itself, you have the whole movie is about the process whereby capitalist cultural hegemony takes white male alienation and directs it away from class consciousness towards individual nihilism. And that is the process of the movie. The movie is his class alienation that all people feel being directed by culture down to this nihilistic path and away from a real revolutionary spirit. And that's why it had to be a 70s period piece, because that is when, because the Joker now is a gritty character. Like, that's the whole joke, is that it's comic book stuff, but he's serious. And the 70s is when we invented gritty cinema. It was the first new Hollywood 70s is when gritty cinema existed. And it has to be a superhero movie because that's the current coin of the cultural realm. And it's like people who grow up with these cultural references and experience class-based alienation are then channeled because of the culture that they consume towards nihilism and away from class consciousness. And the dream at the end where he gets held up, spoiler alert, and embraced that isn't real, is that like the thing that could actually be good, the suppressed desire for community and solidarity. And then he snaps back to being literally in the asylum and separated and unable to connect to others and committed to a life of meaningless violence. And then you have the fact that the liberals decided to tell people this movie is too scary. It's too bad. You're all going to become incel shooters if you see it. Don't see it. So, of course, all these guys go and see it because that's enticing. And now they can't analyze it about class consciousness because they've already been told it's actually about how you're an entitled white male who wants to be in charge and you hate women and minorities. And then you see the movie and you're like, well, I relate to a lot of this.
It's also not what it's about, obviously.
I guess it's about being a Nazi, and I'm a Nazi now because they're brainwashing. They're literally washing it and poisoning it by saying that shit, and they hope you'll take that messessage away from
Matt,
it.
you've been talking
they
for an
hope you
hour.
will. I'm sorry, I'm done. Like I said, I'm just going to say a few things, and that was one of them. I probably won't talk again for like 20 minutes.
That's not true.
Nick.
Oh yeah, I just thought it was tight.
Yeah, this is dope.
I mean, I guess everybody projects their own. I mean, literally everybody projects everything they're feeling onto this fucking movie for some reason. But the only important thing to me was that Todd Phillips could make a funny movie when he needed to. And the moments that are supposed to be funny in that movie are fucking hilarious. So, I mean, that alone did it for me. Other than that, yeah, it's a great performance. Fucking fun to watch.
Best actor in the world.
Yeah, it's just, it was fun. It's a fucking fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you go see that movie and you don't walk away like not feeling like you had a good time.
Adam.
I think I guess I depart from what everyone's been saying. I think the movie was about anti-Semitism. A lot of people scoff at us because we're failed stand-up comedians and we bathe our mothers and we get into bed with our mothers and watch late-night television with them. And, I think, one day we could maybe snap. One day we could maybe kill the president or something like that, So I agree, dude. You guys are way smarter than me.
I guess spoiler alert, the movie does culminate with I guess we should talk a little bit about Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck, his take on the Joker. Felix, you described how previous incantations of the Joker have fit into American culture. Two questions. A, where does Jared Leto Joker fit into your equation? And where does Joaquin Phoenix Arthur Fleck Joker?
Well, Jared Leto was perfect for the pre-Trump hyper consumer of media period because it was like this fucking idiot doing something stupid and then people running it into the ground and this thing becoming financially viable despite what, a few odd 100,000 people who consume every bit of media said. So it was the perfect pre-Trump thing. But this one, just in and of itself, removed from what I think of the movie as a whole, he does, Joaquin Phoenix he's the greatest.
He's great.
He does a fucking amazing job playing a deeply disturbed, sort of sympathetic, isolated man. Yeah, no, he's twisted as fuck. But
also, just amazing dancer. I have to say,
Yeah.
I know there were 5 weird,
thought he was
interpretive
great.
dance scenes,
Yeah.
but he's clearly taken some Martha Graham classes.
absolutely, he's got loose hips. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
in his body.
I will.
And then the fact that he gave himself computer neck for the movie
yes,
to appeal to when there's no reason, he doesn't work at a desk. There's no reason for his posture to look like that.
right. He looked like the Hanway unboxing kid. It's fucking amazing. He's the king.
Jen, as Felix was alluding to, Joaquin Phoenix, his portrayal of the Joker, Arthur Fleck, a struggling comedian. But to me, what the movie was really about is a fairly harrowing and affecting, because of Joaquin Phoenix's performance, portrayal of a guy suffering from mental illness and the lack of social resources to help him or his family. Do you think that the portrayal of sort of civil service and social good in the movie says that it's a lack of that that's killing Arthur, or is it like, are they as indifferent as the Thomas Wayne, sort of charitable billionaire character?
Yeah, I mean, as Amber said, like, I too thought that the movie had perfect politics, such that when we walked out of the theater, we went to see it together, and when we walked out, I said, I'm going to call the movie Woker. I mean, I think that, obviously, like, he is psychologically disintegrating, and the backdrop is, one of extreme economic inequality, the retrenchment of the welfare state, and, labor unrest. Did everybody catch that whole, like, garbage strike?
Right, the garbage strike. Also,
which also
he
means
was,
that
like,
the trash is
literally-
piling up.
Yeah. Also, he was like literally chained to a radiator and beaten into brain damage as a child.
Yeah. Like, he had a lot of shit going on. But I also think about that part in the movie where he is talking to his social worker, and at first, he's kind of like, "Oh, you're not listening to me," and it sort of seems like she's not that invested. But then she's like, "The money is gone. They don't give a shit about you, but they also don't give a shit about me." So, I think that overall, his kind of like own turmoil was very, very much set in this, larger context of societal disintegration. And I mean, I have more to say about just like mainstream American movies and class conflict. But we'll come back. Yeah.
I think that element of him being alienated from the social welfare state, but then at the end the thing about that we don't have any money, it's very perceptive about failed and how intentionally, because the idea is these institutions aren't alienating in themselves. They are hollowed out by the like neoliberal state.
Totally.
Like they are intentionally deprived of resources so that they don't function. But what the function of that is that someone who interacts with those institutions in a way that is alienating is then alienated from the state as a concept, and it further atomizes them and takes their rage and makes it more personal and makes it harder for them to see things as like the product of capitalism.
So I thought also it was the thing that annoyed me is that I realized oh, this is a We Live in a Society movie, and I don't like that they're using comic books to tell Ken Loach stories, but nonetheless, I will say that I do think everyone who is not the wealthy people there are portrayed relatively sympathetically, or at least opaquely enough to leave room. Really, the only true enemies in it are one, Wall Street guys, and two, these lofty, allegedly benevolent, liberal, billionaires. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty good. I thought even the kids that knocked him around, later on he was just yeah, I should have chased them.
There's also his Jewish coworker who plants the gun on him and causes all the problems.
I don't know if
No,
it
that
was
was
a
a
Jew,
dwarf.
Nick, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, the dwarf didn't give him the gun.
No,
it was
no,
the
it was-
Jewish man.
I thought it was weird when Phoenix looked directly into the camera and told the viewer to Google the USS Liberty. Okay, so I agree with what you guys saying about the politics of the movie, but that's still it doesn't make the actual movie that great for me.
It's really heavy-handed because it's a fucking comic book
right.
movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's to
And
me,
that's
to-
what is upsetting.
If you
because,
zoom way into it and just look at it as this is a stupid movie about the Joker, it's fucking great.
About a
It's
clown
fucking,
that's mad at Batman.
Yeah, it's the only thing
if
Todd
you
Phillips
measure
said
it
about
by
the
its
movie.
standards, I
The
completely
only thing
agree.
Todd Phillips said about the movie is yeah, you can't really make jokes anymore. And that's it. I haven't heard him wade into these conversations at all, and that's what I've heard from the filmmakers.
I think he said at one point, he's you're not he's not a hero. He's just a subject, and I feel like people don't
the
understand.
people who
that
made
you
the
can-
movie
Everyone's baby
don't
brain
give
now.
a shit about that.
Everybody who's in a movie has to be a good guy that you root for, because then
Yeah.
it teaches you good lessons in how to be a good person, because you have the brain
everything's
of a
right.
Real
5-year-old.
bad with Breaking Bad is where that fucking started. The final season of Breaking Bad, people are like, "What? Shouldn't he be in jail?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?"
No, it's Hays Code idiocy.
Right, that's a level, the third level of analysis. That this is all very depressing because we're having these in-depth meditations, myself included. I need that $300 from Deadspin for more gaming mouses. But about this thing that it's an impossible thing to verify, right? But if you took this movie, removed the Joker from it, removed the context that we're in from it, put it in fucking 2007 where we all watch it, how would you feel about it? I
Right.
don't know. And it's depressing because, not only is this movie beat you over the head, very unsubtle, to the point where we're unsure of, when we delve deeper into it, we're unsure of how good it actually is. the main criticism from it is adults who seem to have had some sort of like brain degeneration where just every piece of media has to be about friends being nice to each other. Protagonist
like
means
Dick and
good
Jane.
guy. Protagonist means you like them. Protagonist means you are them. It's psychotic and sucks.
Well, did anyone see the Florida Project?
Yeah, that was just poverty porn, though.
No, I think it's the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
I think it's the most beautiful movie about the American working class that I've seen. In a very
that
long
and
time.
American Honey were both.
Yeah,
like, look
well,
at these
you're both
poor
middle class
people.
cunts, so I'm gonna like fight back.
But
on
no,
this.
but who was that
It
movie
is a
made by?
beautiful movie, and it is something about
Who
and
made
there's,
that movie?
The guy
Bourgeois
that
people for
made-
sure.
Yeah, but bourgeois people do make
was-
good art.
But that's it,
Nonetheless,
that's
it is like
I don't even know what that word
Is this
means.
another Joker movie?
yes, in
Florida
many ways. It
Joker?
is. So there's a protagonist in
Shirtless
it that is like a
Pensacola Beach
shitty
Joker.
person who's like a very shitty person, and it's like you don't feel like compelled to say, oh, this is a good person or this is a bad person, specifically because it doesn't carry with it the baggage of the Joker. It's that people aren't looking at it being like, oh, is this supposed to represent like Pepe or something?
Right.
Like people can watch that, and this is also a terrible person and still like feel sympathy and feelings for them, and it's just like literally people are become. It's like Hillary being obsessed with Pepe. Like they've lost their fucking minds.
See, but that's just the thing, and that's why I must fixate in my extolling of this film is at the level that it is most powerful for me at, and the one that I think justifies everything that I think you might have a narrow point about in terms of why has it got to be a Joker movie, all this dumb stuff, and how it's obvious and hit you over the head. In my opinion, all those things connect to raise the movie to its highest level, which is where it is a movie about how the Joker started, but not the character in the fucking comics, the phenomenon of, because he represents alienated
folk
white
hero?
male pathology,
Yeah.
right? That is what the Joker is. That's the guys who wear it. They embrace that idea. And the liberal scolds who are terrified of white men since Trump, that's what they think it is too. And this movie is about how that came into being. The process of alienation and then fragmentation that turns someone and makes them identify with that instead of something more broad,
Well, the worst-
something more
yeah.
pathological. And
The-
that's where the movie, I think, shines.
The most dangerous example of that is James Holmes or whatever, and then that's like this like Berenstein Bears thing that people look back
Yeah.
on and think that it had more weight than it did, and it's like, yeah, again, it's like it's it's funny in the movie where Joker says, "No, I don't believe in any. I don't fucking pay attention.
Yeah, no, and it's
I don't know what any of
love
this shit
that.
is." And
Someone
James
wrote
Holmes is
something about
similarly. It's like he's just somebody that's severely fucking mentally ill. And
It's
decided
already
to
been
kill
written
a bunch
about
of
multiple
people.
times
Yeah.
as like the myth that won't die, that he was inspired by this movie. But it's also like, but dude, people got shut up at a fucking Ariana Grande concert, or like, what was the Stephen Paddock thing? Like,
Jason Aldean.
Yeah, Jason Aldean.
like it's completely deranged. It's literally because people just kind of fear these alienated young men and the things that they like.
Well, I think it's also like it is. I talked about this a bit in the review. And this is obviously like a pre-Trump phenomenon. It is annoying to put everything through his lens, but it's because this has been going on since the 80s and before that, where people feel they have lost all power politically, and the one place where you feel like consuming everything and reacting to everything does produce some effect is doing that with the culture.
Vulgar
Yeah.
Gramscianism.
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's all
Yeah.
entirely outsourced. There's nobody experiences anything internally anymore. You
Right.
both you consume it and react to it immediately in real time externally, and they expect it to reflect like morals that are also
But
sourced
that's
externally.
but also like we've yet to like I don't know how we drive home to like these insane paranoid like liberals and conservatives that like that's not how art works. Like it's gone past Gramscianism and it's moved into like basically superstition and augury. Like no Cumtown listener has actually had sex with their dad. I'm sorry. I'm going to go out on a limb
don't
and
know.
say that.
Yeah, I mean, I have evidence to the
You're not a
contrary.
listener. No, but like this is like the thing. Like the idea that they think that a movie is like, or any kind of art is some kind of like spell that like directs people's actions. That's not how fucking art works.
Well, it's oh, sorry. Dave.
No, go
But
ahead.
It's like it's the easiest form of like criticism of art is to just like try to identify either theory or morals and line it up with like a checklist. And it's like a shortcut to actually thinking about anything because it's much harder to describe what your feelings are. To have to react to a piece of art and explain this is how it made me feel rather than these are the rules it followed or did not follow.
But it's gotten worse since Trump, right? Like every piece of like film
I don't know if
criticism has turned into a goofus and gallant comic
I think
strip.
it's the evolution of like media where you point to a lot of things. I think a lot of it too is you have plenty of people that have like post high school education now, and then they work at fucking like Radio Shack, so they have nothing to do but like continue doing homework online. So they'll go see the Joker movie and they're like, well, I guess this has to be worth more than the $20 I spent on it. Let me like write a screed about why the Joker's a bad guy.
There's an economic incentive certainly to like see fucking like shadows and like see monsters.
Yeah, to give your life more worth than it has.
I don't even think it's like what Nick says. It's not even necessarily economic. It is like the two things that give your life that make you keep you from killing yourself are novelty and meaning. This is false meaning. There's no novelty left.
There is a project, and I honestly don't know how conscious it is, but the outcome of this project at the elite media level of condemning the Joker and people who like it is psychos. The end result of this, regardless of whatever the conscious intent of it is, the end result of this is to brand white male alienation as pathological and reactionary inherently. And that is why you condemn the Joker movie. And then, but the real result of that is, of course, the people you're talking about, they're not going to be warned away from it. They're going to be intrigued by it. And when they encounter it, they're going to encounter it on the terms you've created that say that it's pathological, and they're going to then be reinforced in the idea that, oh, yeah, the problem isn't economic. It's all the things you want it to be about, because then you have annihilated the possibility of solidarity. We can't have solidarity with all these white males. Oh, they're racist and they're sexist. Meanwhile, they could easily be appealed to on the root basis of their alienation. But no, you're poisoning the well for everybody else with these evil men. And that's the actual end result of all of this demonizing the Joker. It is to reinforce this persistent cultural hegemonic agenda. It's a strategy. It's a rhetorical strategy for disallowing solidarity.
I don't know if I think for like a lot of the people that just react to it, I don't know if it's a conscious strategy, but the effect certainly is like taking people who would otherwise not give a shit about this and making them identify with it. If you just point at something and say, this is bad, this is dangerous, this is going to make you specifically kill me specifically, what the fuck do you think is going to happen?
Evidence of that being this movie is now obliterated most box office records for an October release.
Well, also
for an R-rated movie.
It's
Eileen Jones's.
The Suicide Squad Joker is interesting to look at because, like, I remember thinking Suicide Squad was coming out in like 2001 because I feel like that's when the coverage of that movie began.
Yes.
It was like every 2 weeks, sort of like fucking, Jared Leto took a dump in Will Smith's sleeping bag, and like every single fucking month there was like a Hollywood Reporter or Vanity Fair article or something about his fucking antics.
He sent them used condoms.
Yeah, used condoms. He put a bullet in his mailbox. All this dumb bullshit. And I didn't even end up seeing Suicide Squad, but I know he got like cut down to like 10 minutes or whatever.
Going back,
but what's important about that?
I'm just saying, like, if you look at because you look at the media run up to this Joker coming out, you think, well, how much of this is contrivance? How much control do they actually have over the way people are talking about this movie? You say, like, okay, is all this outrage, is that like manufactured? Is it possible for them to do that? And it's like, well, if you look at Suicide Squad, they tried to do that. They tried to like get people like, what? Wow, this is going to be such
fucking
a
twisted.
They tried to do that with Lady Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Jared Leto Joker is the reason they couldn't get it to catch fire and get people to really panic is because Trump hadn't won yet.
Yeah.
It's Trump that made
It's
the
Trump
context for the current
syndrome.
Joker.
Yeah.
Because the Trump winning is what sent everyone to a panic because they lost all control of the government, but they have the readouts of culture and they're going to use them. They're going to use culture as just a vulgar brick to hit you in the head until you become one of them.
Yeah.
And one of the ways they're going to do that is by demonizing anything that they think is an expression of this awful male patriarchal identity that led to Trump winning, because Gamergaters are why Trump won, because the Pepes are the ones who made Trump win, which is absurd. He won because Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate. He got less votes than Mitt Romney. It was purely a depression of Democratic turnout because of the awful Clinton campaign. That is the only reason he won. But now, because the only explanations are cultural, it's got to be this awful trend and these awful men. And so that's why the Joker now is a problem. And when he was a joke, when Leto was doing that stuff.
And on
Yeah.
another level, it was
Leto's
just,
also a shittier actor.
yeah, he has an Oscar, which is
shit.
hilarious.
Yeah,
The movie
dog
sucks.
He's
shit.
mostly good at dying.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like they, I mean, it was a very much like trying to be into like a hot topic, but it's like ironically the actual like fucking poor people that probably would have more in common with that character have the same tastes as the Suicide Squad.
Absolutely.
Joker. They're like, yeah, I want Mountain Dew Joker. They don't want.
Yeah, I want him when he's like
New
a
metal
fucking
Joker.
gritty.
I like the
1980s
one where
New
he's
York
like an
Joker.
Instagram like cartel guy.
Yeah.
Which apparently was the Leto inspiration was Instagram cartel guys with like engraved pistols and shit, like lame suits.
yeah. Also, it was just a way for a studio to make a superhero movie for $60 million, which is like unheard of. And as like now, all these movies cost like $200 million, and they're breaking box office records based off of this panic that's like associated with Trump.
It's like
It's a perfect storm.
in terms of like the motivations of the character. There's very little in terms of like literal exposition in the film, with the exception of that one scene before he kills Robert De Niro or whatever. And it just boils down to something about like jokes are subjective and so are morals, and that's the whole point. That's all they like really give you.
Well, let's talk about the film itself. It really focuses on Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, his portrayal of Joker. The first thing we see of him is he is like a sort of street sign clown and sort of carnival barker on what is clearly a stand-in for CD 42nd Street, dressing up like a clown for being rented out to advertising purposes.
Sort of a Subway Jared type.
Is that a segue to Gary Glitter?
He lives at home with his mom. He dotes on her and takes care of her.
she's not quite all there.
Yeah, and he has aspirations to, have a stand-up comedy career and generally be noticed by people. And the dawning of his Joker personality is about coming out of his complete and total social isolation as someone basically the person on the bus that makes you uncomfortable. Jen, how did you feel about the development of Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of this character and as it relates to the politics in the movie?
I mean, I don't know. I think that, maybe I'm skipping a little ahead to Gary Glitter, but I feel like maybe it's time since we're talking about the content of the movie. So I thought that scene was awesome, where he has basically, it's sort of the analog of like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver showing up at the political rally with like his head, with like his new mohawk, right? So like he's basically
Everyone loves a makeover scene.
Everybody, oh my God, it was totally a makeover scene. Everyone loves a makeover scene. He like puts on his face paint, kills a few people, including his mom. Spoiler, sorry. And then is dancing on the steps to Gary Glitter. And I was
in a Cambodian prison for pedophilia.
Yeah, does everybody know who Gary Glitter is, by the way? Or like,
Hey.
But this was the weird thing. A lot of people didn't know.
right. So just as like a little refresher, so Gary Glitter was this like British glam rocker in the 70s, and in the 90s he was convicted in the UK for possessing child pornography, went to jail for a few years, got out, like immediately went to Southeast Asia and began molesting children.
Twisted.
Yeah. And what I found out today is he actually served his time there, got out, went to the UK, but he's in jail again because he was like immediately convicted
for?
of multiple rapes.
What for?
Yeah, he's like,
you surprised me.
no. In 2015,
Shoplifting.
he was convicted again of like multiple rapes, so he's in jail in the UK now. So I mean, for the best,
Of course,
I'm not.
He clearly can't keep his hands off
Yeah.
the kids.
So the film critic Anthony Lane in The New Yorker, and like I also read an article in The Cut talking about the kind of like dancing to Gary Glitter scene, and both reviews were sort of like scandalized, like, oh, we can't be giving royalties to a pedophile. Like this movie clearly did this to
every
offend.
movie made by Hollywood.
I know, right?
The famously anti-pedophile Hollywood movie system.
Yeah. But I mean, what struck me about that scene is it's obviously a moment of such dysfunction that, of course, they had to use a jock jam by a pedophile who's in Thai jail.
Yeah.
Right.
And they left it, it's like, I feel almost deliberately left out of the trailer. That's not the music that it's paired with
Totally.
in the trailer. And it gives you a much different idea of what's happening in that scene when you see the trailer versus the actual film.
Well, and like on top of that, like I was sort of shocked by like how many people were like, "Did you know who Gary Glitter was?" And it's like,
Yeah, he's
How
gross.
do you not know about this song? Like, honestly,
Yeah.
it seems like the media class, like, you have to be so simultaneously unpunk and unjock to
Oh,
have
yeah,
not
totally.
been exposed as a...
Yeah, one of
like,
the articles I
I'm
read
both.
was
nothing.
like,
You've never been to, like, a single stadium?
yeah. One of the articles I read was like, this song has been plucked from musical obscurity, and it's like
Oh
the
my
musical
God.
obscurity in
Every sporting
stadium.
event ever.
Nerd are you?
Every sporting event in America ever,
Right.
even after it was revealed he was a pedophile.
No, they played
still
it more. It was
Was it
tight.
Rock and Roll number
Great
2?
song.
Yeah.
Is the name of the song?
Yeah.
It is
It's a
like
jam.
It is like
A jock jam.
I
if you will.
was talking about this with somebody today where it was like they had to they like whoever picked it, like I don't know everything about how movies are made, but I assume things go through multiple layers.
You
Like
don't? There's no, like, back line for people
well, I
like you
assume
for
like
that?
there's a guy who's fucking awesome at imagining things, and they just go from there. But like, do you
They
think
have
it
a
was
music supervisor, a guy
right?
that picks
Right.
the songs. Yeah.
So do you think this was deliberate? Like that they were
I think they
deliberately?
had to
like-
know.
Todd
but, like,
Phillips
also,
probably thought it
like-
was hilarious.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that it's funny, but there's also a good chance that like a not insignificant number of people in that decision-making room were just like, oh yeah, tight.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
like I
Also,
said,
people in
it's
Hollywood are
multiple-
Can we
stupid.
say like I don't know if this is knocking things off course, but a brief anecdote was there was a lady sitting in front of us and Matt was laughing the entire movie, including the scene where he kills his mother. And
It's a hilarious movie.
the lady
It really picks its spots, but when it does do a joke, it lands.
That's what was so great about it for me is that scene where he does the joke and that woman, I guess she's supposed to be Dr.
Ruth, yeah.
she's like, that's not funny to have like this
What was
old
the
woman
joke?
who talks about her pussy on TV. He tells him
he
what
goes,
he can't say.
he's reading out of his joke note. He goes, knock, knock. Who's there? It's the police. Your wife just died.
Yeah, because your son just died in a drunk driving
Drunk
accident.
driving accident.
And which is funny because like you could have fucking Zach Galifianakis do that bit, and it's like it's like Norm Macdonald anti-comedy. It's fucking hilarious. And then that like quick cut to just the 2-shot of like you can't joke about that.
Yeah, and Bobby's like,
that's not funny. There's
funny.
certain things you can't joke about. It's like a fucking hilarious.
It's very
And he's
good.
a very good like comedy director, and like very few people have like the ability to edit a shot.
This
like
movie
that.
was funnier than Hangover 3 by far. Yeah. For sure.
That my mom just died. I'm celebrating. I mean, there's
That's
so
so
many
funny.
like just really fucking deeply funny moments.
Anyway,
in that
Matt
movie.
was peeing his pants the whole movie, and then a lady in front of us was just kept turning around and looking at him.
To be
because
fair, I would be worried if you
based
were
on the
cracking
profile,
up.
yeah, based on the profile, she was like, "Oh, is it one of those guys?" Yeah.
Sorry, lady. I'm twisted. That's all there is to it.
It's
You're
just
gonna
my
have to deal with
twisted
it.
friend, man.
The first
If
three
someone
rows
was
might
like,
be
if the
twisted.
guy that looked like Matt was Cape Fear hysterically laughing
He
behind
was the
me
whole
in a
movie.
movie theater, I might be worried even if it was like a Pixar
There
movie.
were multiple black women at the movie theater seeing the movie by themselves. I
Oh
noticed
yeah,
that
no.
on the way
So
in.
like, we should talk about the theater experience.
Well, we saw it at Alamo Draft House, our favorite film experience.
so awful, but
you,
here-
you guys with Alamo are fucking the Trump Diet Coke.
You guys, really, we got to stop.
It is
I honestly,
awful.
this is one thing I actually agree with the audience on. They absolutely hate it when we complain about the Alamo Draft House.
Well,
Yeah.
And I
First of all,
understand.
why do you listen to the audience?
I know I
a
shouldn't,
cuck
but it's
move.
one thing I agree with them on.
Okay,
we all
I don't care.
acknowledge
It's an
it.
awful fucking theater.
Also, we were friends.
see every movie there. It's insane.
I know.
convenient.
It's
Fucking
getting drunk.
I like my treats, okay?
to
What
be
can I
fair,
say?
the
should just
Fandango
sneak
app
an
doesn't
airline.
work with the Regal and Union Square.
Okay.
And I've
Really?
gotten bed bugs there
yeah,
numerous
Nick got
times
bed
and
bugs there.
ringworm.
Yeah.
You get ringworm.
Which one?
I mean, it could
Union
be my
Square
fault.
Regal.
I don't want to put it entirely on.
Yeah, it was probably your poor life choices and living in a windowless tenement in Chinatown.
Yeah.
Well-
but
You're like, it must have been the movie
let's put it this way:
theater.
I had bed bugs, and I used to go there all the time. So you should be
Jen and I
careful
went
going to
opening
that
night
theater.
or opening day for the 420 showing, literally.
Hell yeah.
We were frisked.
yeah.
There was like a security
security.
apparatus at
our
the door.
bags were searched,
I was
and
saying-
they ran the metal detector over me.
I want to get like full Muslim outfit, full garb, and go to one of the theaters that's searching people and be like, "Why? Because I'm Muslim." Is that
it
why?
was like
Is that why you're searching me at the Joker movie? They're like,
It
no,
was
it's the
like-
other one.
actually deranged, and then we got in, and like the theater, it was an Alamo Draft House, like 420 showing. It was like half, it was mostly like women that just want to drink a watered down Aperol spritz in the dark.
I saw it in Williamsburg. I didn't get frisked, and it's like
Was there like a
my
security
bag
line with like metal
searched.
detectors and stuff?
And metal's like
So that was
No.
just like a special Alamo thing, I guess.
yeah, they're giant babies. Again, they suck.
Okay, we saw it at the Alamo on Monday, and because we had like a ton of people on this episode, Chris was like, if you have any extra XLR cables, bring it to the theater. And I did, but I brought it in this like sort of perfectly rectangular leather pouch. And it's actually a shout out to Jack Wagner. It was the thing you left at my house when you came over to record. And I brought it to the theater, and I was not checked, but I swear to God, it looked like the perfect case for a handgun.
Also,
that's
look
how-
at
that's
you.
how-
Yeah.
Look at you.
Well, that's how Will would do a mass shooting. He would take like a Luger that he got from his grandfather's estate out of a nice leather case.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be just some vulgar AR-15
No,
out
yeah.
of
No,
a
he would
duffel
be
bag.
like, I would have like a bespoke like leather satchel.
Okay, so Arthur Fleck, it's a movie. It's a portrayal of his, mental disintegration, but it really does, grind down his shitty day-to-day existence and like the catalyst for all of the horrible things that happen in the movie and the streak of murders that he does is both him being given a gun by his coworker and eventually losing his job and access to social welfare.
By his more reactionary coworker.
Yes.
Because when he got like beat up by kids, he's like, oh, they're just kids. And then his coworker actually like coerced him. And we've already established that he was on like 7 medications. And then eventually he, because the social services got cut, he didn't get them anymore.
Yeah, he's also the only other coworker that's not marginalized in any way other than by being bald.
But
yeah,
that's
this is so like, where do you have to, how did he end up there?
his condition is
yeah.
material, and it's like and
Yeah.
the culture buffets him in one direction. It gives him the idea of a power fantasy with a firearm instead of
Sure.
solidarity, and it gives him like someone to blame without it pushes him in that direction.
I'm just adding that as like something else to throw in the pile as arguments against any commentary that the movie is like reactionary in any way with regards to race. Because I don't know, you said that somebody was saying that it's like the Central Park 5 was real.
The
or
opening
something.
scene
No,
of the movie.
I don't
But those
think
aren't,
that at
those aren't-
all.
they're like fucking.
Also, like,
they're a
They're
mixed
Italian
race
kids.
gang of like Italians and
Yeah, I
Puerto
thought
Ricans.
they were
Also-
very multiracial.
Yeah, it's
Also,
not. Those are
yeah, it was
not.
the Colors of
Thank
Benetton
you.
gang.
Yeah.
Like, moreover, like, I'm sorry, but the focal point of the Central Park 5 was a rape in a park.
Yeah,
There
a
was
rape of a rich white lady.
Yeah, like this had nothing to do with that.
Right,
These
it
people were
wasn't-
just deranged.
Exactly.
Well, the opening scene of the movie is him, out on the street hawking his sign, and then a gang of teenagers steals his sign, runs away. He chases after them because he's going to get his pay docked if he loses the sign of the store that he's doing his clown shilling for. They run down an alley. The teens hit him with the sign and beat the shit out of him in an alley, and then it's like title credit Joker over the screen is like the first scene is of him being beaten and humiliated in the street by a group of rowdy teens. But the real the real violent turn in the movie is after losing his job and having this gun, he murders 3 sort of like they're coded as like Wall Street stock bros, but it's later revealed that they work for Wayne Industries. And they're frat bros, and he does
They're
like
drunk
sort of
and they assault him.
Yeah,
after
they're-
What is
assaulting
Wayne
him.
Industries? Is there? What is that? Oh, okay.
It's they do
manufacture items.
Yeah, it's part of the business.
It's one of those things where it's anything.
Yeah, no. In the Batman universe, Wayne Industries just seems like they produce smokestacks. Like that's their
Right.
main export.
and
the
also
pollution factories and the racism factories.
Yeah.
Also in this movie, Thomas Wayne is running for mayor, and we see him as sort of a fake philanthropic, Michael Bloomberg style, self-styled benevolent billionaire. He's the only one that can save Gotham. And there's even a moment on TV where he goes on the news responding to the Arthur's murder of these 3 finance guys on the subway. That that there's like an anti-rich attitude, and people who are jealous of success are striking out at their betters.
They're
basically.
clowns.
And it's important to point out that Thomas Wayne, because we say, what does Wayne Industries do? It's always very, very vague, and it's often just what's
Made a
convenient for the
terminal.
plot. It's convenient. It's what's convenient for the plot. But I think that the modern understanding, if you ask somebody, what do you in your head think that Wayne Industries does? It is definitely a manufacturer or something.
Right.
It's not like a brand or like pharmaceutical company or something. It's a manufacturer, which means that there is zero chance that around the time of this movie is exactly when Wayne Industries starts massively relocating their facilities out of the United States. Like they are in the process of moving to Mexico and then later China. All of that shit is being done in foreign countries.
It would be cool if they stayed in this universe and did another like 1981 period piece for Bane, but he's an Italian bodybuilder from Bensonhurst. And his dad's like greasing him up before the competitions. He's like, "So Bane, you look so beautiful, like some Michelangelo was going."
His dad is like a Lou Ferrigno Sr. from Pumping
You're
Iron.
such a beautiful baby boy, Bane.
But he's just never seen the lights because his dad's cheap. Makes him lift in the basement.
Dad, Wayne's company, they doing a banquet hall at where we were gonna do the bodybuilding competition, so they canceled it. And that's his backstory. Is that he lost to Arnold because when he was in his top shape, they had to cancel the bodybuilding competition.
That would be cool if Wayne Industries, their actual business was club promotion.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Just handing out flyers.
We came up with Ladies' Night.
For that reason and many others, Thomas Wayne is definitely the closest thing to a antagonist or villain. Because
bad
and
guy.
also the movie sort of introduces the idea into the Batman universe that the Joker is the bastard son and half brother of Thomas Wayne. Now,
But
the
that's
movie,
not clear.
It brings it
Very
back.
Freudian.
The movie brings it back and like implies that like his mother, who he like uncovers a letter which would imply that he is Thomas Wayne's bastard child, and that's why he's lived a hellish, deprived existence as his father's sort of primordial denial of his existence and responsibility for fatherhood. But then it sort of brings it back and implies that maybe his mother is just crazy as well, and also the real source of his abuse and trauma in his life. But
It was supposed to be Alec Baldwin also. And then, so they got a guy that looked like Alec Baldwin to play Thomas Wayne. Yeah. And he would have played it like Trump. It would have been amazing.
You're a loser, Arthur. Bye bye.
It would be great if he used-
Cloud.
if
Get
he
the
used-
cloud out of
It would be great
here.
if he used like the inflection he used with like the greedy little pig message on the like. Yeah, no, I mean like that was like, you know, again, like, but the biggest complaint you can have about this movie is like it's a bit on the nose. But the like, you know, you abandoned me kind of thing, and like, you know, you whatever exploited my mother, either like literally or whatever. Like it's again, it's a little on the nose, but like, you know, you paternalistic wealthy people have abandoned your children.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I think it has a allegorical sort of symbolic valence, and that is that even if he isn't technically his half brother, in his mind he sees himself as the half brother of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne and Arthur
who could he have
represent
been? Who could he have been?
socioeconomically the great divergence in like white the destruction of the white middle class after deindustrialization. What I hate to quote him, but what Charles Murray calls the great divergence, right? Where the mass of the non-skilled
Murphy?
working
Also,
class
I gotta
whites
say, I'm sorry.
collapsed in their standard of living, and the knowledge economy whites in urban areas and suburbs, they went off.
No, but
and there's Bruce Wayne, and then there's Arthur.
deindustrialization also greatly negatively affected Black Americans too.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that it's not a unique phenomenon. It's just it was experienced specifically by this group this way.
He's not a good
But
father.
it is a universal phenomenon. It's just that he doesn't experience it universally. He experiences it through these cultural baffles that take him away from recognizing that it is a universal phenomenon and towards the specific and the alienated.
He's not a good father to Bruce Wayne in the movie either. I mean, he
Yeah.
essentially abandons him and leaves his son to wander around the edges of his property and be molested by a
Seriously.
Being molested by clowns.
Right, yeah. And then when he meets the man who sexually assaulted his son the day before, he's like, "Oh, you're that guy that came to my house?"
Yeah.
That's just- he's like,
That's weird.
"Oh yeah, you're that guy that came to my house."
You
aren't you?"
gave my son flowers.
He's like, "Hey, listen, you do that again, pal, I'm gonna be pretty fucking mad at you."
he also stuck his fingers in his son's mouth.
Yes.
To make him do the smile face.
And thankfully, Ricky Gervais as Alfred saved him.
Yeah, they made Alfred cool.
Yeah.
Did anyone read the Eileen Jones thing? This isn't a review, but it was like a kind of like historical retrospective on like moral panics around film. It's really good. It's incredibly good. But
Like which ones?
there's just one. I mean, like obviously
Love Guru.
Do the Right Thing and
Do the Right Thing's a big one.
and Anshian Andalou, which was like such a limp dick, because he was like, I'm going to incite riots, and people were just like golf clapping at it.
Remember Natural Born Killers?
Yeah,
Natural Born
yeah,
Killers
yeah.
caused a huge fight. And in fact, Oliver Stone ended up getting sued by John Grisham. Did you guys remember this?
Really?
No.
So there was a copy. The media called them.
bitch.
There was a there was a boyfriend and girlfriend teens who went on a crime spree in like Alabama or Mississippi, and the media, and they killed a grocery store clerk or something in a robbery. And the media said, oh, they were inspired by natural born killers. And John Grisham was like family friends with the guy who died, and he initiated a lawsuit of Oliver Stone,
Like he doesn't have
claiming
enough
that he
fucking
led
money.
to the death of his friend.
Was the greatest
That's
lawyer
so
in America.
Stupid.
Oh, it's terribly stupid.
What
But
a
that's I mean, that's
Okay.
that's where you
Well-
take it to the furthest extreme.
The article is just called Joker and the Long History of Movie Moral Panics. And she said moral panics about provocative films like Joker as old as cinema itself, but more often than not, they're proof of a film's merit and of a deeply anxious middle class, which is like the perfect.
The thing
Again,
that
they
I
can't
know,
ever
Like
see-
the Edison movie where everyone thought the train was going to run over.
but speaking,
I mean, it was very threatening.
speaking of anxiety of like the middle class and specifically the media class who made this into a story, the palpable disappointment that there was not some sort of shooting this weekend. That's
I
just
know, they wanted it
pulsating
to
off
happen.
these people.
They're disgusting.
They wanted so bad for somebody to shoot so that they could confirm everything they ever thought about trash dick Mayo boys. And it didn't happen, and they're fucking pissed.
I just want to read this one paragraph because it like really zeroes in on like why people are mad. And this was before the movie even came out. The furor surrounding the new Joker movie started not from a disastrous screening, but from an ultra successful one. It got an 8-minute standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival and subsequently won the film's prestigious Golden Lion Award. Just for context, Golden Lion has gone to Rashomon, Ivan's Childhood, Battle of Algiers, Vagabond, Au revoir les enfants, The Story of Chiju, Vera Drake, Brokeback Mountain, and Roma.
And Love Guru.
Just hoping someone's having a good time somewhere. I like to think that Euro partiers at the Venice Film Festival did that voting, were trolling us, anticipating the moral and aesthetic freak out among American guardians of culture at the elevation of Joker to significant art film standards. I picture them hooting so hard wine spews out their noses.
You know what? She's 1,000,000% right that it was absolutely trolling.
Yeah.
But it was also true.
Good.
It was
You're not
perfect.
wrong.
They got to troll America and also honor a film that I think is fucking brilliant.
It's of its time, certainly. It's the film of the moment.
It's like if movies now are supposed to be these cultural reflectors, if that's the idea, well, then you have to love this movie because this movie actually is culturally relevant and insightful.
I
in a
wish
way
we had
that
a
most
Ken
of the movies
Loach.
that get
We don't.
plaudits for like, yeah, this movie really takes it to toxic masculinity. Horseshit. It's all fucking pandering garbage. That just is. It exists to elicit a head pat for people who can easily deconstruct its baby-brained ideology. This is a fucking challenging movie that's willing to do the Verhoeven thing of embodying certain malignancies and even bad filmmaking tropes to make a greater point.
I agree.
You're talking about Love Guru?
That was hilarious. You see that?
Yeah. He's like, I'm an Indian guy, baby. Yeah. No, I'm like you, Randy, baby. I'm from India.
Okay, so on the subject of Ken Loach,
Sorry, you should have invited us on this. Y'all are so smart.
baby. Yeah.
Love Guru and Ken Loach. No, just Ken Loach. Okay. On the subject of Ken Loach, though, I mean, when we're talking about, like, I don't know, American, like, mainstream American movies and, like, class conflict or whatever, like, I mean, Joker, in terms of, like, art, as you were saying, is kind of bad, right? But as Matt, you were saying, is kind of in a different tradition, which is that, I don't know, we don't have a Ken Loach in America, you know? So our,
I wish
like,
we had Ken
Hollywood
Loach.
blockbusters about class conflict are basically the
Batman
Purge
movies.
franchise. Yeah, Batman movies, the Purge franchise, that recent movie, Ready or Not.
Yeah,
And, like, I
that
don't
was
know,
pretty good. I like
you know,
that.
I like all those movies, but they are also all like, oh, the rich are literally hunting the poor with crossbows. Will no one do anything?
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it
Whereas-
has to be because we don't have as you say,
Right.
we don't have a
We're not
class film
European.
tradition. We can only like put it in an exploitative box, which is why I liked Ready or Not a lot, which is why I love the Purge franchise, and which I
Same,
think this
same.
might be the apotheosis of that approach.
The last Purge one was pretty kind of a little problematic.
It ruled.
They
What are
tried
you
Shut
talking
up.
about?
They tried to
Shut
make a
up.
black Purge.
It was great.
That one?
Oh, it was
I
fantastic.
saw it in
Good.
theaters. I
I
didn't
only
really
It
saw
had a
the
pussy
first
grabber
Purge.
joke in
yeah.
it.
No,
The
that
fir-
movie
that was the
ruled.
first Purge. I
The
think.
first Purge, confusingly, the third Purge is called the first Purge. Is the best
Yeah.
of the series. It is like a
Is that the last
blaxploitation.
one?
It's like a blaxploitation social realist like propaganda movie. It's
Yeah.
great.
I saw the first one, and it's like, okay, there's one day where you can kill anybody. And I watch it. It was fun. And then the second one is like, okay, Purge 2. So There's one day where you can kill anyone.
They add more exciting elements
It's
each
evolved
time.
out of the
Oh,
premise.
really?
Yeah,
I
so
thought
at
it was
first
just-
it's the state's not here. You can kill everybody. By the second one, it's the state is secretly engineering the killing. What happens in the third one? I can't. The third, that's
Third
actually
one
kind
is
of
some
the first.
Trump
Klaskowski
one.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's
They
definitely
show like a housing project.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's about because a woman is running for president to end the purge, and the evil Nazis who run the government hire a bunch of literal
KKK.
racist mercenaries led by
Yeah.
There's false flags.
Do you
what's
think-
his
do you
name?
think
Anthony Michael Hall to kill her, assassinate her on Purge night because they lift the restriction on political figures so that they
Yeah.
can kill her. And it's all about how this Revolutionary Army wants to just kill all the evil Nazis who run the world. And she says, no, that makes us just like them. We have to win the election. It's all about
Do you
electoral
think
reformism.
in 8 years we'll get an anti-war Punisher movie?
But what's so funny about that is that movie is very reformist, but the first Purge, the next one, is very revolutionary. It's Maoist practically.
That's the first
Okay,
version.
but-
but wait a minute. What did you say? We're going to get
Within the
an
next
anti.
8 years, an anti-war Punisher.
Well, that's
movie.
what's so frustrating about that fucking Netflix Punisher is that Netflix Punisher was made by Hollywood woke people, and they were handed an incredibly reactionary fucking thing. The Punisher is just right wing reaction from the 70s, from the Death Wish era. It is reactionary, and they tried to make him woke, and he's actually killing Nazis. But he's a guy who kills people pathologically. You have to try to do something like that. And instead they're no, we're going to have our cake and eat it too. And it's totally incoherent and sucks. They need to embrace the Joker as a bad guy the way the fucking Punisher is a bad guy the way this movie does.
Okay, but
They
on
should
the
make a version of the Fantastic Four where they fight the national debt.
On the anti-war tip, though, when I was just reading these reviews, just numbing my mind with liberal moral panic idiocy, one of the things people kept saying was just oh, so we're supposed to feel sorry for this person. Oh, so we're supposed to sympathize. At one point, someone says, oh, because people didn't love him enough, and it's he was chained to a radiator and beaten into brain damage as a
really
child.
sorry for Arthur
Yes,
Fleck.
you're supposed to.
And it's because it's a great-
it doesn't cost anyone. But on the anti-war thing, I realized liberals are now invoking something that we originally did with, I think, the juvenile delinquency scare, and then the war on drugs, and then the war on crime, and then the war on terror, where anytime you were oh shit, some people hit some buildings with a plane, you know what, maybe America's foreign policy might have something to do with that. And they're what are you sympathizing with the terrorists? It's
Absolutely.
do you want to solve these problems or
Yeah,
not?
you want to blame him for responding to
No, they want to be
force.
moralizing
Yeah.
fucking judges, and it's if you ever suggest a pragmatic approach to something where it's oh, where do these people come from? They're look, some people are just monsters, and our entire role is to condemn them.
And you know what? Even if he might be bad, even if you're
He's chained to a radiator.
well,
He's
yeah,
gonna
but
turn
even
out
if you don't
normal.
buy that, even if you think he's responsible for his actions and he's bad, so fucking what? Who decided at what point that you have to and agree with the protagonist of a movie? That they have to be a good
Or
person,
anything.
and their
How do
actions
these
have to be
people read
justifiable.
something like Lolita.
What is that child-made bullshit?
Yeah.
And that is the basis for all of this. It's because the Joker is not the bad guy in the movie, and he's the protagonist.
I feel
by
like-
definition, you have to
But
like
also,
him,
it
and
doesn't
really
cost
think everything he
anything
does
to
is good.
sympathize.
That really started. I feel like with the fucking season finale or the series finale of Breaking Bad. All the criticism of that was he should get his comeuppance. He should be punished.
I mean, he died.
He died, but it's everyone was mad that Skylar should get all the money and she should go to Jamaica to get her groove back, and fucking his dick should fall off and he should be in jail, and it's just
Because they want entertainment to be Hays Code era morality plays.
yeah. It's how about
'Cause
this? How
Hays
about
Code,
they
you
want
don't
Goofus
sell
and
meth?
Gallant.
Yeah.
You don't fuck over your wife.
no,
And
because
just
if I
enjoy
see the
show,
movie, it's
you
going to make
fucking
me
asshole.
do that. It's going to make me do it.
Yeah.
If he looks cool, I'm going to want to do
Again,
the
these
things he
people
does.
believe they're superstitious. They believe art is fucking witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to Cumtown. You'll have sex with your dad.
Well, when I watch pornographs, I want to have sex with ladies. So,
Got you there.
I don't know
All
what
right.
you guys are saying.
We are over an hour, so I think we should offer our concluding thoughts on where does the Joker phenomenon go from here, Felix?
We won't remember any of this shit. Probably 5 days from now, there'll be a
give
new
it 2
thing,
weeks.
a new thing that everyone fucking argues about. Yeah, no, you just the rest of your life till you die.
I guess the last thing I want to say about the Joker, and by extension, the swirl of controversy and criticism that has been coming out, is Do you guys know the literary critic Eve Sedgwick? She has this really great term, which is good dog, bad dog criticism, which is basically what everybody does now, which is to only evaluate a piece of art on how progressive it is or how reactionary it is. And I think in terms of like Joker, like obviously I don't think it's reactionary, but I, also don't want to just swing the other way on the pendulum and be like, it was so great because the politics were great.
Right.
So.
Right, because I like a lot of that reactionary.
Well, was the movie fun?
Death Wish is a great
yes,
movie.
but that's different.
It's not different when you're talking about a Joker movie. It's like a comic book movie. It should the only metric you should be like weigh this film against is like what the filmmakers' stated intention or loosely is that like you can't be funny anymore. And what was the other thing he said? That's the only thing I've seen Todd.
That's all he said.
We live in a society,
Yeah.
basically. He said this guy's in a hero. It's just like
Right,
this is
right.
what happens to people when they get chained
I
to
mean, you're
radiators as
really not
children.
supposed to like have to extract anything out of it other than like let me sit here for 2 hours, and if this is like funny when it's supposed to be, intense when it's supposed to be, then like that's it. That's good. That I don't need anything more out of a Joker movie than that.
We don't really need to be literal or didactic about
Right.
the stuff.
Yeah.
I think my thing that like leaving this, like I basically can't wait till a year from now when people have to go back and watch this and explain why they were so scared
Yeah,
of it.
seriously.
Like that is the
It's
thing.
like it's gonna be like going to New Jersey and being like, hey, remember when you guys all thought War of the Worlds was happening, and you got muskets and put colanders
literally
around your
that.
head and formed a militia to fight off the aliens?
So much of my like sort of artistic satisfaction comes from patience and foresight at this point. And I guess the other thing is it's just like, wow, people just really can't enjoy anything.
Nope, no,
anymore.
they can't.
They're just like incapable of enjoying
Because
like,
everyone's too panicked about the fact that
that
they only
scene
control
with Gary
culture.
Glitter dancing. No, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
They're just panicked. They're hitting the culture button because the power button is broken.
Yep, that is a very good phrase.
Yeah.
I know you're drunk and that's why you said it, but let's remember it and
No,
make sure
I
we keep
think
it in.
it's true. So I have 3 final thoughts.
Jesus Christ.
Number 1. Can I have a question? Number 1. I'm glad this was brought up. I've talked a lot about how I love its themes, and I think it's brilliant, and it works on every level of metaphor. But I also want to insist that it is not only the reason I like it. I believe that when it comes to it as a film, it is well acted, great
He's
shots.
Great. He's great.
Every joke lands. There are a handful of jokes everyone hits, which is having a fucking 1,000% like ratio with and having them hit that well. Fantastic. The violence is really gripping and gritty in a way that is grounding. His character is compelling.
Also
I feel for
conservative
him.
and rare.
I feel for him. I love all the performances. I love the way it ends. Everything that happens, I'm clapping. When he kills his mom, I'm amazed. When the little person is trying to get out of the house and the fucking chain won't go, that's beautiful fucking physical comedy.
Yeah.
So I think at that level it works. And then and on top of that, the metaphors and everything are fantastic.
That one shot where he says the thing about your son was killed in a drunk driving accident and how quick and like just it's like a fraction of a second to get that timing right to cut to that bitch being like, you can't joke about that.
Yeah, like don't you do that?
It's so fucking funny.
Point 2 to Felix's argument that we'll forget about it in 6 months. I agree because nothing stays in the zeitgeist for that long. It's moving too much. There's too much data.
I do think people will get mad again when it wins a bunch of Oscars.
Well, then it'll come back when that happens. But I think that doesn't mean that it won't come back, because the thing is, as you have pointed out a million times, time is a flat circle. Culturally, everything is just the same. Everything never really changes. So things go out of the cycle, but then they come back in. Some are embedded because of the import. I think the Joker is so freighted now with cultural import as a concept, and this movie is such a good job of bringing a lot of those things to the fore that it will be bow embedded and come back. And it'll go away, but I think it'll come back. So that's my guess about it. And then third, last point, I think that the importance of the Joker character, his usefulness as a metaphor in the contemporary moment, can be shown with a simple point, and that is that during the Obama years, the Tea Party guys would go around with posters of the Obama as the Heath Ledger Joker. And it would say
That's when I first got interested in politics.
And Barack Obama embodied chaos and disorder and horror and the destruction of the country. Now, at pro-Trump rallies, they have pictures of Trump as the Joker. And that transition from seeing the Joker is this force for chaos and evil embodied by Obama, and now Trump being the savior and also embodying all the Joker's traits. That shows you where the Joker does, what the Joker's cultural expression and usefulness is. So that's it.
Oh, wait, real quick. My ex-boyfriend is at a Zizek talk. The first question in the Q&A was, what did he think of the Joker movie?
What did he
He
say?
hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I do.
Doesn't like it, I'll be very disappointed.
He'll love it.
I do. I
He
do.
has good taste.
I do want to have a small retort to what Matt said about this being
You
permanently
are a
embedded
small
in our-
retort.
All right, you know what? I think podcasting is fucking childish. I've never wanted to do this. I regret everything. No, I feel like we're like in a cultural lost decade where nothing from this time will be reabsorbed into this cycle. It'll be forgotten for just a decade of products that were consumed for the exact time they were out and gone forever.
Everything's such a fucking regurgitation and a reboot that all the references are to other things, just like Joker is.
Yes.
But I guess that's what I mean.
Okay.
The Joker
I'm
will
sorry.
come back.
One
He will
more
be different,
thing.
but he will come back.
One
the
more
Joker
thing.
will
On that
eternal.
tip, I have to say, I was talking about this with Jen. When I think of I wore my Iron Maiden shirt in tribute of this. When I think of what, scared like the Tipper Gores, like the last major cultural moral panic, where, by the way, like liberals and woke people did join with like conservative Christian right and the authorities to be like, by the way, if you listen to Prince, you're going to be a misogynist.
Yeah, take down Twisted Sister.
Yeah. Like, I have to say, though, like, what did they say keep your children away from? It was The Simpsons and Beavis and Butthead. It was like NWA and death metal. And these kids, these poor kids, they get a comic book movie. It's recycled.
That's really true. And you know
It's
what? I feel
recycled.
like
we had great art to be
Yeah.
scared of. Great.
This
and like
movie
this,
does a
it's
suicide
fine.
bombing.
But we had
Unreal Tournament when I was a
There's
kid.
never going to be a best ever death metal band out of Denton about a Joker movie,
And that's the sacrifice they were willing to make this movie, because it
Yeah.
had to be a comic book movie to encapsulate the entire phenomenon.
its time.
But the fact that it's a comic book movie will fix it in time and make it less relevant. And so, you know what? I retract what I said. Joker will come back, but in a different form.
Oh
Well, did you see there's a lady Joker?
But I find
like
this,
Birds
but,
of
but
Prey.
I will
Yeah,
say that
Lady
the
Joker.
sacrifice this movie made is pure and beautiful, and it is a fucking martyr.
Final thoughts, Nick and Adam.
I don't know. Go see the movie and then
Yeah,
go
it's
back to
tight.
Googling Epstein. Who gives a shit about the Joker movie? Get back to work. Keep posting about Epstein.
Epstein ain't going away.
Yeah, see the Joker movie, and say thank you to Warner Brothers.
Check out Love Guru too.
and check out Love.
Yeah, for a movie dealing with similar themes as Love Guru and the Joker, check out Two Guns.
But like also just a bigger point, and I mentioned it earlier. Don't forget that this is just a movie studio finding a way to make a fucking comic book movie for $60 million and to use its PR department to drum up controversy and then have like a smash success in its opening weekend.
It is also that.
Always be doing
It is
materialism.
also
Yeah,
that.
just
Always
it's a
be doing
fucking
materialism.
it's
At the
a
end of the
fucking
day, that.
company making a movie that, and they found a way to like.
Yeah,
get,
but it's good.
and it's good.
That's the thing.
No,
They
it's
could
good.
do
That's the
worse,
thing.
but
It's good.
always-
Even like
I'm not saying-
Scorsese's
that doesn't mean it's
criticism
bad.
of those Marvel movies, where he says like, "Oh, they're like theme parks," and it's like, well, no, theme parks are fun.
Yeah.
but the Marvel movies just are dog shit. They're
No,
not
but
fun.
like you
Joker
don't, you
is
don't have
tight,
to
though.
not enjoy.
I love
something
roller coasters.
by
Right.
like paying attention to like the political economy that produces
Right,
it.
right.
Go to the movie, have some popcorn, have fun. It's
I will
not
say
a
this
big
though,
deal.
just about
It
the
won't
craft of it.
Take a
hypnotize
girl,
you.
try to hold her hand, ask
Cut
if
the
you can
hole
kiss.
in the bottom of the popcorn.
Put the hole.
Say to the woman
put
next
your
to you, like, "Ma'am,
penis-
excuse me, I think our popcorn's got switched. Can you reach to see? Is this your penis in my popcorn? Can you reach in there and see if this feels like your penis? I think ours. Can you just check?
What
Can you just check
What were you
popcorn's
saying
got.
about what you were gonna do? And just like wander around the theater and just be like,
Excuse me, ma'am. Hi.
You should, when you go to see this movie, you should be doing.
really bad day. If we could just talk for a minute, and I could smell your hair.
No, yeah. When you see this movie, you should do the thing that you should do when you see any movie, and just like talk about your life's problems when you buy your ticket. Go right up to the ticket counter and just tell them what's going on.
This movie is absolutely just a cynical product of a profit-minded content mill. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
it's
fun.
just also a miraculous coming
It
together.
landed.
It's the way that like the thing swells out of the
I don't
of
even
the
think-
ooze.
I
It's
don't
like
even
it's just a
think Todd
random
Phillips
product
is
of
as
like
good
of
as it is.
bioproduction.
Sorry.
It's just it's DNA going crazy. It's life finding a way, as Ian Malcolm would say.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I've watched every single Marvel movie, the vast majority of them in the theater. So I'm there. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm looking at the screen the whole time. And nothing I've seen in 40 hours now of footage has held my interest and attention as much as the first couple of fucking minutes of this movie.
I think Donald said on Letterboxd he found himself caring what happened next. Yes. Which is a great review. Yeah. Now I don't give a fuck when I watch those movies. I'm high or on a plane and farting.
There were maybe like there was like a 15-minute window where that movie started to drag, but other than that, it was great the entire fucking time.
We need to wrap up the Joker Symposium. I think the generally seems to be the consensus view. The Joker not going away, even though Hollywood continues to be a cycle of repetition and self-cannibalization. However, at this one turn around the wheel, the stars aligned to make something that was somewhat uniquely perceptive about the Joker phenomenon and like just general cultural relevance of this like 1930s oddball comic character that continues to bedevil the public conscience through largely an uncannily good performance by Joaquin Phoenix, but also wittingly or not some fairly perceptive and smart writing and directing.
One question.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
I want to pose one question.
This is more of a comment than a question. Matt Crispin.
It is a rhetorical question. It does not mean to go on. Just think about it, guys. Imagine a world where the character that the Joker is in our world, this symbol of darkness, this twisted menace, this incredibly challenging role for any actor to take because of the darkness within it. Instead of the Joker, it was the Crypt Keeper. And like it like fucking Joaquin spent 6 months thinking up like Halloween themed puns. How amazing that would be. That's the world I want to live in.
Once people see the Monster Mash scene, there's doing mass shootings.
Folks, continue to be twisted. Keep it twisted, everybody.